Welcome to the Cincy Sports Pod, where we've been gone for a while. Here I'm Tim Kraft with my co-host Jack Snyder, and we're just ready to get back into talking Cincy sports. Obviously, Bengals, Reds, FC Cincinnati talk, and I just say let's get into it first with the Bengals. First time being 2-0 since 2018 in the Marvin Lewis era. How we feeling after 2 weeks? Obviously, the Joe Burrow injury. I just want to get a little input on that.
2-0, so we're happy record-wise, as I think most fans are. But I've ever seen the SpongeBob meme where he's like kind of like all sad and like old and gray, and the chair, and that's the
Yeah,
meme. But how Bengals fans actually feel, I think that's pretty accurate. But I mean, I don't know. They played well. I was obviously a lot more encouraged after the first week defensively than most people were. And then obviously the defense stepped up big time against Jacksonville again with the turnovers, the interceptions. So, but yeah, obviously losing Joe Burrow, that is just the
the
last thing that you want to
franchise.
happen if you're a Bengals fan. Yeah.
Yes. Joey
So,
franchise, Joey Shiesty, whatever you want to call him. He's the franchise, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football, and genuinely has one of the best pocket presence in football. He's had to deal with horrific O lines for several years now. The Blackburns and the Browns still haven't been able to figure that out for him. Obviously, they drafted a guy in Dylan Fairchild who's now starting at left guard, I believe, and he's doing a lot better. But I haven't liked what I've seen from Amarius Mims so far this year. Hopefully, he's able to step up his play. And there are some big names on this offensive line. I love Ted Karras, great leader for the city. Just got a 1 year extension done with him. But I just would like to see better O line play. That's part of what caused the turf toe injury, and and hopefully they are able to hold up for Jake Browning, and so that he can get him to these weapons like Jamar Chase and T Higgins and the crew, Chase Brown, Andre Yosfash, and company.
yeah, I think obviously we've seen the Browning story before. He has the ability to lead this team to wins, especially over this Vikings team that's without Aaron Jones and without JJ McCarthy. So, a very winnable game in Minnesota next week. I think if you get to 3-0, I think you have tons of room to work with because you have a gauntlet of a schedule coming up with Green Bay, Detroit. We still got to play Baltimore twice. We play Buffalo as well. So there are going to be a lot of tough games. So I think this game against Minnesota, I don't want to say it
I
determines
think
the
it's a
season.
must win.
I think
I
it's a must win. I think it'll tell us a lot about this team and whether or not we can have faith for a playoff run or not.
I genuinely think this is probably one of the most important games on our schedule, especially with the schedule coming up, as you mentioned. Uh, the Lions looking absolutely terrible in week one against the Packers, who's obviously a really great team with Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, but come back the next week and hang 51 on Ben Johnson, their former offensive coordinator. So it's definitely a gauntlet of a schedule coming up here. But if you get yourself to 3-0, you're going to be able to work with a lot more. And if you look down the schedule, it says about 9 to 10 wins. I personally think 10 wins with Jake Browning if he can clean up the interception issue that he had in the Jaguars game. But for what it's worth, he came up in the clutch. I saw what he said after the game, just being, sometimes you just got to be delusional in some forms. Like when you're in the fourth quarter, you got 90 yards to tie or win the game. You got to forget about what happened before and just go win that lead a game-winning drive. Exactly what he did. And then how about Mitchell Tinsley, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic catch. Obviously, drafted out of Penn State, played at Western Kentucky a time ago, and obviously now with the QB troubles on the roster, the Bengals did sign his college quarterback, Sean Clifford, proud St. Xavier Bomber. So shout out to the long blue line there, obviously.
For sure.
So yeah, I mean, I think it just shows that this offense is it's going to be the offense, even without Joe Burrow and Jake Browning as the signal caller. They're still going to put up points. I believe personally. I love Chase Brown. Um, and I'm somewhat encouraged from this defense overall. So I'm leaning on the more optimistic side. Obviously, like I'd be through the roof optimistic if Burrow was not hurt, and I also think they win that game much more comfortably on Sunday. But you know,
I want to talk a little bit about this secondary and how Al Golden has kind of revamped it with the way, obviously he had a great secondary at Notre Dame last year, one of the best in the country, with Xavier Watts just getting his first pick in the NFL the other day. But the development of these young players that were drafted when Lou Anarumo was the coordinator, who is not a bad coordinator whatsoever, just didn't have the personnel last year, left for Indianapolis, and they're 2-0. But Jordan Battle, I mean, he has had consistently tackling well throughout his career, but something he added this year is he's got 2 picks in the first 2 games. And he's being able to read the football a lot better. And I feel like Geno Stone has stepped up his play, signed on a 2-year deal from the Ravens last year. He was underwhelming last year, started to pick it up toward the end of the year, as well as, and then DJ Turner has looked better in coverage as well. And Cam Taylor Britt had a down week 1, but has come back and looked better in the Jacksonville game for sure.
yeah, I also Dax Hill is one that kind of stuck out to
Oh,
me. His downhill tackling and support in the run game. I saw his post on Twitter earlier today. It was about a minute 15 seconds of just game tape from Jacksonville, and he played fantastic. And I haven't been watching the game since I don't get them locally on TV here in Bloomington, so it's kind of tough to evaluate the players like that. But just from that tape, right? Not like highlights or anything, but just like where he's out in the play, his footwork, his run recognition, when he's breaking off from his defender to go make a tackle up the field. I thought it was fantastic, and I really loved what I saw from him in the
I
tape
think
room.
it's
So
his
that's encouraging.
versatility. I think it's his versatility.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
cover, I mean, he's a cover guy. He's a Swiss Army knife. You can that I think the Bengals made the mistake of when he came out of college playing him at free safety. I don't think that's his best spot, but you can still put him back there every once in a while. He's got familiarity with the position, but uh, you can play him in the box. You can play him in the slot. You can play him outside in the boundary. It doesn't really matter. The guy can cover, and he's got good ball skills. He tackles very well. Um, so yeah, I've loved to see. I was a big fan of that pick um, after the Super Bowl um, run, and I think he's deserving of a second contract for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tim, I have the Bengals schedule pulled up on my phone here. You mentioned the 9 and 10 like wins you see throughout
Yeah,
the schedule. I mean, can we just like run through it real quickly, kind of see? Obviously, next week at Minnesota, I feel like that's winnable. Would you
I,
agree?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I think, and then the next three is where I'm struggling. I think so at Denver, home against Detroit, and at Green Bay. The next three, what do you like? What's your record? What is it? 1-2,
So
realistically, 2-1.
I genuinely think after this week we are going to be 3-0. But where it gets tough here is you can either go 0-3 or I think it's going to be one of these two, 0-3 or 1-2 in these next 3 games. I think you you're going to make out pretty well if you go 1-2 in the next 3 games after the Minnesota game against the Broncos, the Packers, and the Detroit Lions. Obviously,
Mhm.
Lions coming in week 5 at home, going up to Lambeau in week 6. But I feel like those if you get 2, then that's like you're hitting the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. So 4-2, let's say that. So go 1-2 in that 3 game stretch. Then it's a 5 game stretch. It's very winnable. Home against Pittsburgh, home against the Jets, home against the Bears, at Pittsburgh, and then home against New England. So 4 home games plus a road game in Pittsburgh. I 5-0. That's a lot to ask with Jake Browning, but how unrealistic is it?
I think that's a little optimistic, but it's doable. But I would definitely say 3-2 is the minimum there. Uh,
Absolutely.
3-2 is the minimum there. I think 4-1 is on the table. Uh, I think 3-3 in the division. You, you know, I really would like to get one from the Ravens and hopefully, I mean, obviously you get both from the Browns. You want that, and then
Hmm.
maybe one from the Steelers, or even both, which would be
Yeah,
huge if you can put yourself at 4-2 in the division with Jake Browning at quarterback, who is not a bad backup quarterback by any stretch. I know I said that in a way that may have come off that way, but
yeah,
he can win you some games. He just got to be able to take care of the ball better. And he came in this stretch a couple of years ago with Jacksonville, where he had one of those really good games. Jacksonville was 0-3 at the time, and we were 3-0, and it was one of those games that was really surprisingly close up until the end. But Jake Browning was able to put up 34 points, and the defense allowed 31, and they got out there with a came out with a W.
yeah, absolutely.
And
So,
then
and
obviously the
then
Minnesota "why'd you cut me" game.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that T Higgins catch reaching over the pylon. So say let's 3-2 minimum there gives us that 7-4. Then you have 3 games at Baltimore, at Buffalo, home against Baltimore, and that gets you to that mid-December mark where Burrow is supposed to come back. So worst case scenario, I think we're 7-7 there. Try and steal a game, and then you have 3 games, assuming Burrow makes that timeline. Miami, Arizona, and then Cleveland. And then if you can win all 3 with Burrow, that's 10-7. I think it's a very manageable schedule from here on out, personally.
I genuinely think 10 wins will get you into the playoffs this year too. It did last year. Obviously, last year we were 9-8, but we're waiting on that horrendous Chiefs game at the end of the year where they got to play the Broncos and we're just resting their starters. I genuinely don't think we should be putting divisional games as the last uh, games in the year because obviously if we were in a position with Joe Burrow being healthy, we would rest our starters, and that might screw over another team. So I'm not just talking about it from a Cincinnati sports perspective. I'm just talking about it from a general NFL fan's perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think, I mean, typically, I guess, like in college football last week, it's like rivalry week. I guess that's kind of what the NFL does. But once again, like you want those division games to mean something. And if they're at the end of the year, sometimes they're not going to mean anything. So I understand what you're saying about that, of course.
And I feel like we've also been very positive about this team. Uh, there are some negatives, and I'd like to get into a little bit of those. Obviously, you can't have what we had yesterday with the defensive line, um, allowing not yesterday. What am I talking about? On Sunday, um, allowing 5 to 6 yards a carry every run with Travis Etienne. They were getting so much push, and then as well as the O line wasn't playing well. You got to be better in the trenches.
Exactly. Yeah. Like allowing the run game is fine. Like if as long as you take like we kind of locked down the passing game, so the run game
I
was
would
where they got
agree.
yardage, but then our run game was horrible. So like the trenches have to be better. I think that's been my main concern so
Kind
far.
of the opposite of last year. The secondary was just
Yes.
absolutely horrific last year. We're still getting some pressure on the quarterback with, BJ Hill and Trey Hendrickson and all those guys. Um, but it's really to start this year, obviously Trey Hendrickson's been great, as he always is. But I think the guys on the outside like Cam Sample and Joseph Osai, and don't know when Shamar's coming back, but I think they've shown in their career that they've shown flashes that they can actually get to the quarterback and have an impact on the game, and just haven't shown that thus far. So hopefully the pass rush gets a little bit better because something that's consistent with good teams in playoffs is they get after the quarterback. And you saw that with the Super Bowl last year with the Eagles and the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes was probably the most flustered I've ever seen him in his life. With they were getting a pass rush with 4 players, not they weren't even sending blitzes that game. And if you can get get any semblance of a rush, the secondaries have shown that they can lock up the wide receivers from time to time and put together a decent defense. It just needs to be top 20.
Yeah. And that's not a lot to ask. And I also another reason I want the running game to kind of improve is because I have Chase Brown fantasy, so I would like more fantasy
Me as
points in
well.
that
Me as
perspective.
well.
So yeah.
But I mean, just the weapons on the outside really keep this team alive. If we were sitting here and Jamar Chase or T. Higgins were going to be out for an extended period of time, I'd be sitting here on this podcast devastated. Like this team would not go anywhere without the weapons that we have on the outside, especially for Jake Browning, and it puts him in a good spot to be able to do stuff with this offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Browning's scramble a bit, like that's one thing about Burrow that like his scrambling is very underrated. I think he had like what a 50 rushing yard touchdown against New York last year.
Yep.
And Browning's decent at escaping the pocket. He's not just going to stand there like a statue and throw and then take a sack. He can move a little bit. He's not going to run for like 30 yards down the field. It's not Lamar Jackson, like by all means, like not even close. But he's mobile enough to where I mean he's not Joe Burrow. I don't want to say he's like Joe Burrow, but like in the sense where he's going to pass in the pocket, but the ability to
I know
move
exactly
is
what you.
somewhat similar.
Yeah. I would agree with you. He's definitely not the most mobile quarterback, but he's definitely not going to take a dumb sack. He's going to throw it away, or he's going to get out of the pocket and be able to create something. Obviously, he's not going to be doing that at the level of a Joe Burrow, the stars in our league. And you can't expect a backup quarterback to be like that, obviously. And I think, I mean, in college, I mean, this guy out of high school was ranked 216 players ahead of Joe Burrow. I saw this stat the other day. Jake Browning was really good in high school and also really good in college with
He was a
Washington.
dog at Washington. He led them to the playoffs, man.
Yeah,
2016.
yeah, I remember that. I remember that year that team was scary for sure. And to just, go on with that point, the the defense is gonna continue to hopefully play better and keep us chugging along. I think the next game is just super important for momentum, and I think that's probably all we have on the Bengals. But I think we gotta move on to the depressing part of the show, and that would be
Yeah.
the Cincinnati Reds. A lot of highs and lows this season, but just can't find a way to stay consistent, Jack.
Yeah, I know. And I've gone to ESPN here to just kind of gander at the Reds and kind of how they're the last couple of games, and I take a look and you know I'll just say this. I'm out on the Reds. Like I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. I mean I'm gonna
I'm out
box score
too.
watch.
I'm
Like
totally
you
out.
can't be 4 or 5 games above 500, a game and a half back in the wild card, whatever it was. Probably not exact numbers there. And you can't fall below 500. You cannot get swept by the A's. That is absolutely
That's
unacceptable,
awful.
and that is just an embarrassment to the entire city. And I don't know. I mean, I guess technically they can still make it. They've got I'm not sure how many. So they had
They have
I
all divisional opponents left. They've got one more game against the Cardinals. They play
it's
the
not happening.
Cubs, they play
It's
the
not happening.
Pirates, and they play the Brewers. So
Yeah, it's not happening.
it
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, I do not see this happening unless they pull a magic out of the hat. I think you have a chance if you get prime Barry Larkin on this team as well as prime Joey Votto and some Jay Bruce, you might have a chance. But as this team as currently constructed, I do not believe is a playoff baseball team. The Arizona Diamondbacks, who sold at the deadline, they sold Geno Suarez, a player that we could have gotten. I love Key Bryan. He's been hitting a lot better. His defense is phenomenal. Um, they're sitting at 77 and 75. They always find a way to make a late season push and are only at 1.5 games behind the New York Mets, who have basically been giving this playoff spot to you. They, but before this, they had lost 9 straight games and are now 2-8 in their last 10. And they've done
Yeah.
this twice. This is not just once. They went on a 7 game losing streak just 2 weeks ago. Like,
Yeah. Well, Tim, if you want some good news, the Reds are currently up 4-1 in the top of the six against the Cardinals. So
I did notice that, but
they can get back to 500. But I mean, obviously San Francisco and Arizona are both playing each other, so that's I guess good because one of them's going to lose, but then one of them is going to win, so that's obviously not the best. New York is still playing the Padres, who they dismantled the other night. I saw it was 8-2 at one point.
yeah,
So
you definitely want the Giants to win that game against the Diamondbacks tonight, purely
yeah,
based off positioning right now. But if there's any semblance of hope, because I don't want to be this negative Nelly the entire time on the Reds, I the thing is, the starting pitching has been all so good all year up until this point in September. It has come crashing down the bullpen, and it hasn't been the run scoring that has been the problem all year. This I've looked at their past couple games. Even in the A's series, they were scoring 5 runs a game. The run scoring is not a problem right now. It is Andrew Abbott hasn't had a good second half. Hunter Green came back from injury and it has been up and down, but pretty good for the most part. You haven't been getting the production from the bullpen that you'd like from Nick Martinez and Pagan, Santillan. I like those guys. I think Pagan and Santillan are awesome. I think they've been run through a brick wall this year with the amount of innings they've had to pitch, purely because of just that the bullpen is just not good on this team.
yeah, and I just I mean, you're great. It's like the starting pitching is awesome, and then you have Hunter Green like this, but like they can't pitch every day, and then they certainly can't come in and relieve when the days they're not starting pitching. So
It's
I
crazy
don't
to
know. I
think
mean,
that this team, I believe 70 games through this, maybe even more, hadn't been swept. And that's because the
that is
starting
just
pitching was so
shocking.
good. Because
That
they've
is just
been
absurd.
swept twice in the past month by the Dodgers and the Athletics. So it's like you get to the point where the starting pitching is not producing and the bullpen's not producing, and all you have is run scoring, which it hasn't been like that all year because we'd had games where we would be losing. We had a week in this season where we lost four straight, not four straight, but every other one run games, 1-0 a lot of times.
And and not being swept in a division where we're playing Milwaukee and Chicago. Like, let's just think about that too. And then finally, you get swept by the Dodgers. Like, okay, that like it was bound to happen. And then you get swept by the A's. Like, I mean, come on, guys, what are we doing here? I mean, like De La Cruz is batting 263. Sal Stewart comes up. He's playing amazing. But why the heck is he not playing baseball a month or two earlier? It's I don't know.
And this is something that these Reds just don't have this year. They've been good against big market teams in the past. They would go to the Dodgers and take 2 of 3. They would play them at home and sometimes sweep them or at least take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers in years past because De La Cruz says that's his city, which probably will be in the next couple years when the Reds decide not to pay him. But that being said, I mean, the only big market team that we've been doing well against this year is the Mets. Surprise! I mean, and obviously that's a dumpster fire of an organization. The fact that they can't be in the playoffs when they have a $300 million payroll, probably double the payroll the Reds have, and are still finding a way to play themselves out of it. But genuinely, I think the Reds, they're gonna have to take 11 of their last 13, and against the Brewers and the Cubs and the Pirates even in this last game against the Cardinals, it's pretty much undoable at this point.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think. I mean, let's just take a quick look at the schedule. 4 at home against Chicago. 3 at home against Pittsburgh. 3 at home against Milwaukee. As do we have like do we have to go undefeated at home against Chicago and Pittsburgh? That's like almost impossible though, I feel
Yeah,
like.
it really is. But I think the keys are let's just talk to the keys to success. I think obviously the starting pitching in the bullpen just got to be better. Continue where you're at with the run support that you've been given the pitchers and haven't been able to capitalize these last couple weeks. But if you can, keep the strikeout rate down, get some hits, timely hits, I really think you can start to make some noise, whether that ends in not being in the playoffs or even if you come up just short.
Yeah, I mean September 6th to September 13th. This is a bit off topic. September 6th to September 13th, the New York Mets lost 8 baseball games in a row, 2 of which were to Cincinnati, and we are 3 games behind them. Like that is unacceptable. Like how is that even happening?
I don't get it. But I say we go to the team that has consistently be giving us hope for many years, and that is the FC Cincinnati.
Mm.
Consistently at the top of the Eastern Conference. They are currently second with 55 points behind the Philadelphia Union, who have 57. And I mean, let's just talk about this team because they started out in the USL. They had a bad first year, which is totally normal for a franchise opening up. And then, I mean, these last couple of years have just been great, Jack.
Yeah, they already locked up a playoff spot this year. Obviously, they dealt out Lucho, which mixed feelings on that, whatever team. And they bring in Evander, and Evander is on the doorstep of an MVP type season. I mean, it is his goal last night. I don't watch a ton of MLS live in person. Or I've gone to a few games this year. You
Mhm.
know, you and I have attended our fair share, but usually I don't. I just like box score watching, and I kind of like watch the highlights afterwards.
I
And
agree.
man, they just and what this team feels like. It feels like they found their guy. They found their team. They've got Robinson. They've got Evander. They've got the keeper in Celentano. It just feels like a
And
well-built
Denge
team.
is a nice pairing with Evander at the top as well.
Yeah, the- a well-run organization. It feels like coming from the city of Cincinnati. I don't know if I'm actually allowed to say
Which
that.
actually might be a
I don't know.
miracle.
Yeah,
Uh, and then obviously you've got the leader with Matt Miazga in the back, holding it back at the center back. I love seeing him trash talk every once in a while when I'm in attendance, which is not that often, but I do have a friend that has season tickets and is gracious enough to bring me. Uh, and so
sounds like a good guy.
uh, not he would you wouldn't think he would be just if you've been around him, but he is. And so definitely a fun team to watch. They hold up in the midfield. They're very good on defense. I feel like they can improve. I feel like they still have areas of improvement back there, but the duo of Denke and Evander at the top has just been a goal scoring machine and assist scoring machine this year.
Yeah, and I feel like once they're so good in the regular season, they won a supporter shield last year. But like every Cincinnati team, they have their struggles, and it is the playoffs.
I would
They're
agree.
they're the team. They just gotta make a run. Like get to
But
the
something
MLS
that's
Cup, get to
different.
the Eastern Conference Finals. They just got to make a run here this year. So yeah,
But
we'll see.
something that's different about this team is I think this team is more connected and glued than I've seen in years past in the way that they're able to pass the ball and string together uh, offensive possessions without turning it over. Their possession has been great all year long. Um, and just simply they're scoring goals. And that's what it takes to win soccer games. Good defense and scoring goals. It's really just as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean they have 44 goals, so they definitely have heart. So yeah, I mean, and I think they only have 4 games left, so they have their spot locked up. I would assume they're probably going to be in that 3-2 range, 2-4 range. I mean that win over Nashville was huge because Nashville's sitting in fourth place right now. But Inter Miami is 3 less games played and only 6 points back, so I wouldn't be shocked if Miami makes a run. But I think FCC has the opportunity to do something special, especially getting home field advantage.
Yep. The thing I blanked on there for a second was last year in the playoff run we were in playing the Columbus Crew and Acosta goes down it will and he stays in the game and I don't see that from Evander. God forbid I don't want any of our great players to go down, but if they do go down, I want them to be out and put a sub onto the field because last year he cost us that victory. Just purely, I love what Lucho Acosta did for, you know, this team. He was the MVP. Um, but I just see something different with this team
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, if just like I was hoping for the Reds, if FCC makes a playoff game, it'll be hard to pass up a chance to go.
for sure.
TKL gets rocking.
And I'd totally watch them if they didn't have the Apple Plus TV subscription. Then you gotta buy the MLS pass. It just makes it really hard to watch. So being able to, look at clips and wait around for playoff and Columbus Crew, Hell is Real rivalry to watch on Fox Sports is definitely the times of year I'm super locked in on FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, obviously the new streaming services and everything we have now, it's tough to get Reds games if you don't have the local channel. It's tough to get FCC games, you know. So talk about that in my sports media literacy class and how the whole landscape is changing. So it is tough, but obviously once everybody starts watching, then they'll put it on TV. It's just like, well, I wanted to watch the whole season, but yeah, that we're not concerned with all that.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna. I've enjoyed talking a little bit about a lot about Cincinnati sports with you today, and hopefully we can get back to posting pretty more regularly. Um, and we'll see you next time on the Cincy Sports Pod. That's all from Tim Kraft and Jack Snyder, and we'll see you next time.